gives you a question. It says, you show some particles of dye surrounded by water particles. The dye particle is a white circle. So sketch the possible path the dye particle may take over a period of time. What happens when the water molecule surrounding it bumps into the white dye particle? This is what you should draw. Basically, you draw random motions. Random jerky movements. So I do not want to see something like that. Don't draw a circle, then after that draw a swirl here and there. Okay? It should be jerky motions because every bump takes it a different direction. This arrangement is highly confused. No, it isn't. Okay, next. They gave you a series of statements and they want you to say whether it's true or false. So after saying it's true or false, you are asked to explain. So Brownian motion of smoke particles is due to many smoke particles bombarding rapidly each other. Okay, is it true or false? Joe, what do you say is false? Okay, I think Joe expressed it very succinctly, very clearly also. I think he used a lot of the words that we learned so far, the vocabulary. He says he does not think it's the smoke particles bumping randomly into each other. He says it's the surrounding, you say particles? Or molecule, what do you say? What's the word you use? The surrounding air particles that are colliding into it that cause the movement. Okay, so good use of vocabulary. So it is because of the surrounding gas particles that are colliding into it. Wow, Joe almost went forward. Okay, so it's a false. It's not because the smoke particles are bumping into each other. Smoke particles are quite big. They are not very small, at least on the microscopic scale level. So if I compare a smoke particle compared to the gas particles, maybe something like that. The smoke particle may be very, very big, made up of many, many, many atoms. Whereas the gas particles surrounding it may be much smaller. They are the ones bumping and colliding into it, causing it to move in a jerky movement. To the human eye, this is still very, very small. Okay, next question or next statement. It says small particles move from a region of high to low concentration. Is that true? Actually, what is this process called? When some substances move from high to low concentration. Okay, very good. Such as diffusion. Okay, that is the word diffusion. Lots of things can diffuse. Yeah. I think I said this many times already. Diffuse. So it is true, they do move from a region where it's higher to lower concentration. Okay, so this is a true statement. And I think in your answer, I hope to see the word diffusion embedded somewhere inside. This is the process that's happening. Ashika is here. Who said inside? Regan went there. Regan is there. Shuya is there.
Wow.
Yan is here.
So good memory actually.
Whose face is Yan looking over?
We are at Orchard Place.
Okay? Hope you all enjoying your CCA so far.
Jack said yes, one.
Yan, are you? Are you enjoying your CCA? I always tease Yan because I really wanted him to be coming. He rejected me. No idea how that. Just one more week, and then we're going to go into our National Day celebrations week. So next week is the last week before National Day celebrations week. That's week 7. There'll be lots of celebrations, then you go on holiday. What's my favorite week of the whole year? Better than any other week. Are you going to put up some decorations for National Day? No. If you want to know which is my form class, just research the entire school. There'll be this one class, National Day decorations, and a Singapore flag hanging outside. That'll be my class. Okay, there are strong attractive forces between gas particles and smoke particles. Is this true? It's blatantly out to create a false statement. Peter, what do you think? Okay, it's not true. So what would be the right amount of attractive force? Okay, gases are very far apart, particles are very far apart, so the attractive forces should be very, very weak. Last time someone over here used the word negligible. Okay, so yes, the forces are very, very weak, let's say by Ethan, and last time some of your friends used the word negligible. Okay, so that is what you can say. Okay, this one should be okay. They ask you to explain how come the smell from the kitchen can end up reaching the smell inside the, can end up reaching the living room after a period of time. Yicheng wants to answer. So Yicheng, why?
Huh?
Can you raise your hand?
Yeah.
Sorry, I misunderstood. So I want to hear your voice. So, why do you think the aroma can spread to the living room?
Because you travel from high concentration.
Sorry?
It travel from high concentration.
Okay. Teacher says because the smell travels from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. This process is diffusion. Okay. So these are vocabulary you can use to describe diffusion. Okay, some words you want to use: region from high concentration, eventually moving to a region of low concentration. This process will be called diffusion. Okay, the words I've highlighted, I expect to see in your answer. How you string it together in a sentence, I'll leave you to English. Okay, but these highlighted words are usually the words I look out for. Not that I expect to memorize, but these are good vocabulary to use to reply and explain every time you encounter such phenomena. Okay, so look out for these words in your own answer. These are very, very key vocabulary. And then in between is English. Shall I expand your vocabulary also?
I disagree. I think.
Are you smart? No. Oh, okay. Yes. Are you not smart? Last question asks you about temperature. What is temperature? Temperature is the total amount of kinetic energy divided by the total number of particles in that system. And then you end up getting the average kinetic energy per particle. That's what temperature is. So, they ask you to explain why temperature will increase when you supply thermal energy. First and foremost, we know that all particles are constantly moving. When you heat it up, the particles gain kinetic energy and move faster. Okay, all the words I'm highlighting are very key. So gain kinetic energy and move faster. Temperature is the average kinetic energy. Therefore, temperature increases. So the ones I highlight are keywords. Key vocabulary, I should say keywords, key vocabulary. Once done, you can file RE 8.1 into your science file. One more week's time and I'll collect your science file. Just like 5 weeks back, someone said that there's a lot of time to get there.
No, it wasn't me.
I think it was Ethan. Ethan over here. some of you I think already almost done. Oh yes. RE 2.1, you cannot find your science law because it's still on 20.
Learn yes. That is so mind-blowing.
The movement should be a bit jerkier. Yeah, so you make it a bit more jerky. Yeah. I see, no, it's just very short. See whether you hit. Okay, this one, make sure you do it high to low concentration. Other than that, they say correct data. The particles should be gaining thermal energy and then the kinetic. Sorry. Also, it's how we use it in JC is very different. We use the word heat to describe the process. So I heat up. So gain thermal energy. Then as a result, gain kinetic energy, move faster. Yeah. Okay. Then temperature is the average kinetic energy per particle. That's why the temperature is increased. See the last point? Okay, we will now go back to cells. We will go to the second part of our lesson.
Go!
Let's do a quick recap of what we learned yesterday. We mentally by ourselves, could you try to recall what are the classifications of cells that we learned yesterday? You don't shout it out yet. Now I invite some of you to share your points. What are the various ways you can classify cells? Okay, how many categories are there so far? I think you've learned 2 categories from primary school, but yesterday we learned 2 bigger categories. So that's question number 1. What are the categories? Question number 2. What differentiates these categories and what are the similarities? Okay? I am going to adopt the Venn diagram mode of doing notes this morning. So one big circle, another big circle.
I don't know why chair has it. This chair.
Okay, let's do a recap. What are the 2 broadest categories of cells that we learned yesterday? Kyra? Does start with P?
Something karyotic and
Okay.
karyotic.
Okay, yeah, something karyotic. So there is eukaryotic. Do you remember what I said yesterday? No? Karyotic means nut, right? So you then what's the other one? You're right, it starts with a P, then there's a karyotic also. Alright, okay. Okay, let's write that down in a while. Okay, I want you to force it out of your brain. Exercise, okay, then you stay there forever. So P, second alphabet, R. Prokaryotic, okay. So prokaryotic cells. Not very cute, everything was so flat. Only class in the whole school, right, when I step in, right, they greet with an applause. Okay. Prokaryotic. And then just now, Kara, you also said something about nucleus, right? Have or don't have. Okay, which one is the one that has, which one don't have? Okay, no, the other way around. Okay, but thanks for bringing up the nucleus part. So, no nucleus. Whereas eukaryotic cells have nucleus. But nucleus is just a very specific example. If I look a little bit broader, what is the biggest difference between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells? Because nucleus, remember, is just one example of an organelle. Okay? Okay, who else? Megan? Okay, so now Megan elaborates a little bit more. Nucleus is an example of an organelle that has a membrane. So for example, in a cell we have nucleus. That is an example of a membrane-bound organelle. Membrane-bound means it is wrapped up in membrane. Other membrane-bound organelles are, you will learn next time, mitochondria. You will learn next time also the chloroplast also is a membrane-bound organelle. Okay, so there are many examples of membrane-bound organelles. So nucleus is just one small example. No membrane-bound organelles. What are organelles? They are like tiny organs inside the cell. That's why it's an organ but nails. This one has membrane-bound organelles. Okay, next question I choose. Can you either give me a difference or similarity? Similarities will park in the middle. Yeah, I always target the boys, so today I'll just call the girls up.
Oregon.
Oregon, it's a boy.
Okay, Regan is not a girl.
It's a boy.
Out there you will see.
That's very dictative of me.
Very what?
Dictative.
Okay, sorry, yeah. Olivia? Differences or similarities up to you? They both have DNA, okay? They both have DNA. Both have DNA. Okay? Or you can, more broadly speaking, genetic material. Do you want to add something over here? How you say but? No. Anything to add? Okay, go ahead. What else you want to add on? Okay, so there's a similarity, is it? Okay, both of them also have plasma membrane or cell membrane, as well as ribosomes. Okay, ribosomes. We'll come to that. What in the world ribosomes are? Okay, one other thing, there's a similarity. They both have cytoplasm. Anything else? Difference or similarity? Okay, Olivia, you can choose the next person.
But that's so good.
Well, of course you can. You can break the streak or you can continue.
No.
Sorry? Ryan? Ryan?
I don't know what to say. I also
Add on. Any difference or similarity? Maybe you look in your textbook. differences perhaps? Yesterday we also did notes, drew tables. Why don't you try? I will wait.
对，这样可以很快哦。
I will wait. So you can search a bit faster. Okay, perhaps you can compare what wraps around the prokaryote as well as the eukaryote. Okay, everyone, as well as Brian, you can also refer to this page. Look at this page. This is an example of a prokaryote. On the page? Yeah? Okay? Okay, so you have a look at the features there, what is labeled there. Okay, what are the characteristics? Okay, now go to the animal and plant versions. You see what are the similarities? Were you here in lesson yesterday, Brian?
Yeah. Italy maybe not.
Okay. Because your notes will be blank. Okay, yesterday we drew a table. So, Vito, any other similarities? Or differences? Okay, so I think in your notes, if you jotted down yesterday, you look at the cell wall, there are differences in what they are made up of. So the cell wall for prokaryotes, peptidoglycan. Whereas for the cell wall in eukaryotes, you can expect to see that they are made of cellulose. So these are the examples you can find that was mentioned yesterday. This was the table that we drew yesterday to compare, and that's where we left off our lesson yesterday. So a few ways you can summarize the features of prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Today we're going to go and do kind of the same thing, but in the context of animal and plant cells. So where is our scope today? Today our focus is on eukaryotic cells. We're going to leave behind the prokaryotes. And today we're going to have a look at two of the classic eukaryotic cells that you have learned before in primary school, but we'll elaborate a little bit more. Animal and plant cells. That is our scope for today. You'll find inside your notes later on, in your CA, can you get out your CA, the one that you used yesterday to draw the animal and plant cells? Today, I will be making use of the CA. You flip to the next page. There are a lot of summary tables for animal and plant cells. Okay, we'll be making use of the summary tables today. These summary tables will come in useful for you when it comes to revision. But for this morning, we will watch a video to summarize some of the structures that you can find in animal and plant cells.
Cells are the smallest living units of an organism. All cells have three things in common, no matter what type of cell they are. All cells have a cell membrane, which separates the inside of the cell from its environment. Cytoplasm, which is a jelly-like fluid, and DNA, which is the cell's genetic material. There are two broad categories of cells. The first category is eukaryotic cells. They have organelles, which include the nucleus and other special parts. Eukaryotic cells are more advanced complex cells, such as those found in plants and animals. The second category is prokaryotic cells. They don't have a nucleus or membrane-enclosed organelles. They do have genetic material, but it's not contained within a nucleus. Prokaryotic cells are always one-celled or unicellular organisms, such as bacteria. So, what are organelles? Organelle means little organ. Organelles are the specialized parts of a cell that have unique jobs to perform. Let's start with the nucleus, the control center of the cell. The nucleus contains DNA, or genetic material. DNA dictates what the cell is going to do and how it's going to do it. Chromatin is the tangled, spread-out form of DNA found inside the nuclear membrane. When a cell is ready to divide, DNA condenses into structures known as chromosomes. The nucleus also contains a nucleolus, which is a structure where ribosomes are made. After ribosomes leave the nucleus, they will have the important job of synthesizing or making proteins. Outside the nucleus, the ribosomes and the rest of the organelles float around in cytoplasm, which is the jelly-like substance. Ribosomes may wander freely within the cytoplasm or attach to the endoplasmic reticulum, sometimes abbreviated as ER. There are two types of ER. Rough ER has ribosomes attached to it, and smooth ER doesn't have ribosomes attached to it. The endoplasmic reticulum is a membrane-enclosed passageway for transporting materials, such as proteins synthesized by ribosomes. Proteins and other materials emerge from the endoplasmic reticulum in small vesicles, where the Golgi apparatus, sometimes called the Golgi body, receives them. As proteins move through the Golgi body, they're customized into forms that the cell can use. The Golgi body does this by folding the proteins into usable shapes, or adding other materials onto them, such as lipids or carbohydrates. Vacuoles are sac-like structures that store different materials. Here, in this plant cell, the central vacuole stores water. Going back to the animal cell, you will see an organelle called a lysosome. Lysosomes are the garbage collectors that take in damaged or worn out cell parts. They are filled with enzymes that break down this cellular debris. The mitochondrion is an organelle that is the powerhouse for both animal and plant cells. During a process called cellular respiration, the mitochondria make ATP molecules that provide the energy for all of the cell's activities. Cells that need more energy have more mitochondria. Meanwhile, the cell maintains its shape through a cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton includes the thread-like microfilaments, which are made of protein, and microtubules, which are thin, hollow tubes. Some organisms, such as plants that are photoautotrophic, meaning they capture sunlight for energy, have cells with an organelle called a chloroplast. The chloroplast is where photosynthesis happens. It's green because it has a green pigment called chlorophyll. Plant cells also have a cell wall outside of their cell membranes that shape, support, and protect the plant cell. Animal cells never have a cell wall. There are many other unique structures that only some cells have. Here are just a few. In humans, for example, the respiratory tract is lined with cells that have cilia. These are microscopic hair-like projections that can move in waves. This feature helps trap inhaled particles in the air and expels them when you cough. Another unique feature in some cells is flagella. Some bacteria have flagella. A flagellum is like a little tail that can help a cell move or propel itself. The only human cell that has a flagellum is a sperm cell. In summary, remember, eukaryotic cells are plant and animal cells with a nucleus and membrane-enclosed organelles, while prokaryotic cells are unicellular organisms without these things. All cells have a cell membrane, cytoplasm, and genetic material. And even though only plant cells have chloroplasts, both plant and animal cells have mitochondria.
Okay, by the end of JH4, all of the additional organelles that you saw in the video will be very, very familiar to you. For us, the main new organelles that I would like you to be aware of as JH1s, we introduced two new ones first up. But although one of them you learned before in primary school, chloroplasts, the above one, how many of you have heard of this in primary school before? You know what? Okay, so the mitochondria will be the brand new organelle you're likely to be familiar of. Okay, so you know a few now. You know nucleus, you know your vacuoles, you know chloroplasts. This is the new addition for JH1. Right now we're going to do a recap of some of the structures that you learned before in primary school, as well as the new ones. So in your CA 8.1, 9.1, you can use it as a summary notes. We will go through structure by structure. I believe the ones in red are the ones that we left out for you to do some note taking. Okay, so flip to the next page. We begin first with an organelle that you learned before in primary school, the nucleus. We have provided you what the structure is. We expect you to know the function. Okay? So you have learned in primary school that the nucleus is often the biggest organelle you can find in a cell. That is usually the easiest to identify. Other than that, it is really like the brain. It controls a lot of activities in the cell. And it also contains the genetic material you can find in the cell. Okay, so by today you have a summary notes for each type of cell. The next line in your table says chromosomes. But what are chromosomes? Chromosomes are nothing more than DNA that has been packaged. Okay? So that's what the word chromosomes are. You see the word chromosomes? Actually it's DNA. Just DNA that is more organized and packaged very neatly. So that's what is inside. If we point to the inside of the nucleus, we are pointing to the genetic material. On the DNA, it's been coiled up very nicely. Okay, that's what chromosomes are. And that's why it's passed on from generation to generation. You are who you are because of what's inside every nucleus of your cell.
CA first. Sorry. Not even. You know what's happening? What's that? What's that? Not ready for lessons. No textbook. Every step of the way I ask you what to do.
Okay, next up, cytoplasm. You learn this in primary school also. It's that jelly-like substance where everything is floating within. Okay, what is the cytoplasm for? You know the structure is the jelly-like substance, but this is where all the chemical reactions in the cell take place. Okay, so the point in red, this is where chemical reactions take place. Other than that, in primary school, you also learn the cell membrane. Slow down a bit. Okay, the cell membrane, you learn in primary school, is selectively permeable. Only some things can pass through, some things cannot. What is its function? Serves as a boundary. It regulates what can go in, what can go out. It's like a door. It's like a doorway. Some of you have even in your table or watching the video jot down notes. That was a good practice. Okay, just a few more organelles for the animal cell. Okay, we're going to come to the new ones very soon. At least this organelle that I'll need you to be able to identify in a while. Okay, let's move on to the next organelle, vacuoles. You learned before in primary school, vacuoles. Animal cells ones are very small, but plant cell ones are much bigger. Okay, what's the function of vacuoles? It's for storage. It stores nutrients, stores water. That's what vacuoles function are. Then the new organelle for today, for JH1, will be the one on the bottom, mitochondria. It is the organelle that produces energy. attention. This is what a real organelle looks like under the microscope. Not the ones you use, it's not strong enough. But there are very, very powerful microscopes. They are able to see mitochondria. They are much, much smaller than any nucleus. See if I can find an image. Okay, so we'll skip the plant one first. We're going to look at real plant cells. Sorry, real animal cells. Let's look at this image of a real animal cell taken using a very high resolution and magnification microscope. Look at this entire cell. First organelle I'd like you to identify. Can you identify the nucleus? Can you tell where the nucleus is? How do you tell which is the nucleus? Okay, ready? Okay, may I invite Vera? Vera, which is the nucleus in this particular cell? You just orientate me. Where do you think the nucleus is? The white color, where is it? Okay, you tell me stop when I'm near it.
Stop.
Okay, so the nucleus is over here. It's this big region. So how do you tell a nucleus is a nucleus in an animal cell or a plant cell? It is always the biggest organelle. Okay, you are expected to be able to identify these organelles from real cells. That is one of the learning outcomes for this chapter. So if you look at your textbook on page 29, it says number 3, identify cell structures, and then they gave you the things we want you to identify. One of the things you need to be able to identify is nucleus. Let's look for other parts of the cell. I'm sure if I ask you to point to the cell membrane, you'll be okay? Cell membrane cannot. You just got to point to the outer part of the cell. If I ask you to point to the cytoplasm, point to any other part of the cell that does not contain an organelle. Now the last one. Can you identify mitochondria for me? Okay? Before we go and get you to identify, let me show you what mitochondria looks like again. Then let's search. So mitochondria earlier on, we showed you it looks something like that. And then inside, it looks like there are many, many folds. Mitochondria has two membranes, one on the outside and the other one on the inside, that is highly folded. Okay? Now let's try. Can you spot mitochondria in this image? Yes. Which one? Oh, this one looks like a hot dog. A very short hot dog. Can you identify mitochondria? In a while, I'll pass you my marker. Then you can come and point out. The hint is there are lots of it. Can you see it? You want to try? Okay, Kyra, come. Kyra, you can point to a mitochondria. There are actually lots of them. You'll be surprised. They don't all look like sausages. Okay? Inside of a mitochondria, there are lots and lots of folds. Okay? Okay, so Kyra is chosen there. You want to point to more? Which one? This one? Okay. Okay, so Kyra pointed this as well as this. Yeah, the mitochondria. Okay, thank you, Kyra. You can sit down. Okay, so mitochondria, they need not look like hot dogs all the time. Because if you look at a hot dog from this perspective, you look top down. Oh, I just rolled my shirt. Okay, if you look at a hot dog from top down, the hot dog looks kind of round. Yeah, if you look from top down. Then, you will still see all the folds, but it looks kind of circular. It's a matter of perspective. So if you were to take, let's say, Gaboro Boucher's bottle, mitochondria from this perspective looks very long and elongated. But if you start to tilt it, it starts to look a little bit different. If you look at it head on, it looks round. Okay? So mitochondria looks different depending on the perspective. But what gives away a mitochondria is the inner foldings, lots of them. And so, where are the mitochondria here? There's one here, there's one here. This long one is also one. This one is also one. This one also. This one also. This one also. This one also. Lots of inner foldings inside. There's a mitochondria. That's where energy is going to be produced for the cell through the process of cellular respiration. So that's a skill to pick up. I hope that you can identify them as the days go by. So these are the things you should be able to identify: the nucleus, vacuole, cytoplasm, mitochondria, and the cell membrane. Let me give you another example of an animal cell. Here the nucleus is more obvious. Mitochondria also, you can see those structures inside got lots of folds. Okay, so this is how we expect you to be able to identify. I think this is where we will gradually come to a stop today. Let's go a little bit into plant cells. Then next week we will learn how to identify parts in the plant cell. Okay, for plant cells, you'll find that it has lots of similar structures. So don't need to copy again, you need to recopy. For example, plant cells have cell membrane. The functions will be the same. It has nucleus, function also the same. It will have chromosomes inside the nucleus, function will be the same. Cytoplasm. Okay, so the functions are largely the same. There are some structures that are different, so let's focus on the differences. So the first difference will be the large vacuole. Compared to animal cells, their vacuoles are smaller. Plant cells' vacuoles are very huge. So you could flip to the next page. We are now at plant cells. We will stop at the large central vacuole today. Next week we will look at other parts of the plant cell. This is where we will stop today. Previously, someone asked, why is the vacuole of plant cells so big? What's the point of it? Well, because it needs to contain lots of water to keep the plant cell as the word is turgid. Turgid means it's rather solid as possible. Notice plants are standing upright. They are not wilting half the time. That's because inside each cell, lots and lots of water is stored in the vacuole. Almost like a balloon, right? An inflated balloon. Okay, this is where we'll stop. You can go and prepare for your B lessons. Okay, thank you class.